This is an overview for using the new file server and file sharing on the file server as a professional user. Here I have the list of diagrams that I have on my local computer. And of course, these are nonsensical names just because I'm keeping my documents confidential. But this is a list. This is showing a folder on my computer that I use to store test diagrams for testing the app. So anyway, here in the lower left-hand corner, there is a new tab. And it has a computer icon, which means that the files that are currently shown are shown on the local computer. And just as a reminder, if you go into preferences on macOS, it's Command period, or on Windows, you'll go into the menu and pick Edit Preferences. You can select what folder on your computer you're showing. And this feature has always been there. So you click Set Path, and then you choose a folder that you'd like to show. And right now, I just have test diagrams because that's what I want to use for this demo. So you can change which folder is shown in the default view here on the local computer whenever you want. That feature has always been there. But this tab down here at the bottom is now added in version 1.5.0, and that shows that you're showing files on the local computer. So that's always been the default view, is to show files on the local computer. And that will still be the default view when you start up the app. But what's been added is a tab over here that shows files, your files, and the files you have access to on the file server. This is a new feature in 1.5.0. So here you can see that I've got two files that are added that I have access to. And you won't have any files there, or you'll have your free diagram if you have upgraded to the professional license, which is what this video is about. It's for people with professional license. So the way that you get files on the file server, or the ways that you do that, are one, to open a file and then upload it, and I'll show you how to do that, or to have other people share their diagrams with you, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So all of that, regardless of which way that's happening, all of that is happening here at this new box here at the bottom of the document settings, the diagram settings view here. So that's just the gear icon. So these boxes are the same. Timeline variables are here. That's settings for this diagram. What you're hiding and showing on the diagram. Some ways to change what's visible on the diagram. And then at the bottom, there's a new box called Upload Diagram to Server. This will say Upload Diagram to Server if the file you're currently editing is stored on the local computer. And then you'll have a button to upload this diagram file to the server. So if you're familiar with iCloud or things like that, this is going to be kind of similar, but this is managed more in the app. So the help text here says, click upload if you want to copy this diagram to the server so that you can share it with others. You will have an option to keep the copy on your local computer if you wish. So hopefully this is enough so that you know what's happening to your file, so that you don't lose any data that you've entered in through much toil, I'm sure. So I'm going to go ahead and click this, Upload to Server. It's going to say, are you sure you want to upload this diagram to the server? This is required to share the diagram with others. Click Yes. And before I click Yes, I'm going to just add another side note that all of this copy here, all this verbiage has to do with sharing the diagram with others. And that's one way you can use this. You can also just upload your files to the server if you want to share them somewhere where you know that they will always be, because they'll always be visible in the app. Or if you would rather share them on the server because the data is more secure on the server, Family Diagram is taking responsibility over ensuring that that data is backed up, etc. Although we don't provide a service if you delete or overwrite your data there, but we are responsible for at least maintaining the copy that you push to the server. So this is going to say, are you sure you want to upload this diagram to the server? This is required to share the diagram with others. And I'm going to go ahead and click yes. So now it says this diagram was copied to the server. Do you want to delete this local copy? And I don't really want to delete the local copy because I use this file I want to keep a copy on my drive as well, on my computer. So I'm going to click no. And then notice, this is important. Notice at the top, it says timeline test, which was the name of this file. And then it also says server in parentheses. It means that this diagram is now stored on the server. It's not stored on your local drive. So if I go back to the file browser, this is the key distinction for those of you that are always wondering where your files are, which I know are many users because I get a lot of support requests that have to do with basic file management on Mac OS or Windows, regardless of whether you're using the app or not. You'll notice here that so with the tab selected for the local computer, the local drive, I still have a copy called Timeline Test, as I did when I started the app. But if I click the server and show what I have on the server, there's another entry here called Timeline Test. That's a copy of the file that I just uploaded. So now I've got two separate copies. If I start editing this file on the server, those files will not be visible on the file that's on my local drive with the left tab over here. Those are forked now. They're not connected. So if I go in here to click the timeline test, I'm getting back open to open the file with the server. That's how that shows that it's open on the server because it says server in parentheses. That's important for you to pay attention to. Just for comparison, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to close that. Go back and open the file on my local drive with the left tab over here. See, it doesn't show server here. So now let's go back and open up the server version on the right tab. And now it shows server again. So now I know which copy I'm using. So also, if I go and click settings, once I've uploaded it to the server, now this box is different. That's another way to tell that it's on the server. So now instead of saying upload diagram to the server, it says server settings for diagram. And it says this diagram is stored securely on the server. You own it. So all of this is to help you know where your file is, which file you're editing. It's your responsibility to keep track of that. And it's the responsibility of the Family Diagram and app and server to ensure that the changes you make, even if that means overwriting your changes, just like on your local files, are not lost on the server, to ensure that that file is there. So now here we get into the new functionality. So once you've got a diagram saved on the server, it's going to say this just one more time. This diagram is stored securely on the server. You own it. And now you've got a new bunch of help text here that says, here you can set access rights for other users using their email address. Each person you add can either have read-only access or write access, which implies read access. In either case, your diagram will appear in their own server view in the app, and you will be listed as the diagram's owner. So I'm not going to go back there now, but if you remember, if I close this file out, I have that tab on the lower right-hand corner, which is the server view. They will then see your diagram in their server view, the list of diagrams they have access to, if you add them in here. So to do that, it says here, enter the username of the account you want to share this diagram with and hit enter or click the add button. The text input will turn from red to green when a matching user is found. So my current user that I'm logged in with here that has this professional license that allows you to do this uploading is patrick@vadeninmedia.com. Now I have another user, a test user that I have that has the free license. And the email for that one is patrickkid@gmail.com. And you would, and I'm going to enter that in here, but you would type in the address for any other professional user, that's a person who has a professional license, that you want to share this diagram with. So if your email address is linda@myconsultingservice.com, and you want to share this diagram with another user, a family diagram user, who also has a professional license, and their email address is jeff@jeffconsulting.com, you need to enter in jeffconsulting.com in here. Okay, so the address of the user that already exists. When you do that, it will turn green, which means that it found a user that matches. So if I change this, if I delete a character here, there's no user with patrickkid@gmail.co. It's patrickkid@gmail.com. It's found that user, and then I can add that person here. And then what you can do, so that's already been added to the server. Now they will have access if they go back and refresh the server view with file refresh server. And then I can change to whether they have read-only or read-write access. Read-only means they'll be able to open and view the diagram and go through the timeline, but they can't make any changes. You would change this to read-write if you want them to be able to make changes as well. And then you can remove their access entirely by just hitting the delete button. So to show how to jump and demonstrate what happens when somebody's access is added, I'm going to go and re-add these guys, this guy here. And they're going to have, that person's got read-only access. So now I'm going to log out. Are you sure you want to log out? Yes. And then I'm going to log in as that person, the person I just shared the diagram with. And they don't have a diagram, but that's okay. I'm going to pause the video and add a professional license and then start it again. Okay, I'm back. I've added a professional license for my test user. So this is the person that the diagram is being shared with. They've got a professional license in here, which is required to share it, to be able to have a diagram shared with you, because the professional license enables that server view. The free and the new client licenses always open to the diagram and don't show the file view at all. So anyway, here I am. So now if I go back to my server view, I'm going to see here, remember I'm logged in as patrickkid@gmail.com. I'm going to see this new line here that is the diagram that's been shared with me, and it's owned by this person here, which was the previous user I started the video with, patrick@vadeninmedia.com. Both of these users are now professional users. So remember that I shared that diagram owned by patrick@vadeninmedia.com with this user I'm currently logged in as, patrickkid@gmail.com. And I shared it only with read-only access. So if I open this now, I can go in, I can change the date, I can do all the things I would want to do to check this diagram out and get all the useful information that's in it. But if I try to click and drag people, I can't do that. If I want to go in and set dates, I can't do that. If I click on the notes for an event or go edit an event, you'll see it's all disabled. I can't click any of this stuff because that would be editing the file. But I can still read the data that's in there. So this is the read-only mode, and this is important so that you can share files with other people so that they can check they can go and look and see what you've got in there. But if you don't want them to be able to make any changes, you need to set that access right to read only in diagram settings. So notice that when I'm opening this with read only, there's a read only status up here in the top. It says server, but it also says read only. So I know that I'm opening a diagram on the server, and I know that I can't make any changes. And I will also see in the diagram settings, server settings for diagram, right? That's what shows when the diagram's online or on the file server and not on the local computer. It says this diagram is stored securely on the server. It is owned by patrick@vadanamedia.com. That will be the address of the owner. You'll recognize that as not your email address. And for this user that's currently logged in, it's patrick@email.com. So that will be obvious to you. It says you have been granted read-only access by the owner. You have access to all of the data but cannot save your changes and cannot make a copy of this diagram. That means that you can't take someone's diagram that they have edited and given you read-only access to, and then export the file and then go share it with other people. It's stored in the server only. That means that the person who owns this diagram has control over who can see it. Now you could just as easily log in and take photos of the screen as the person that it's been shared with. You could have other people at the computer, and you could be revealing all the data in that diagram, but you won't be able to distribute it. And that's as far as the app can go in ensuring who has access to the data. So it is the responsibility of the owner of the diagram to know that those sorts of distribution are possible. Taking pictures, taking videos of the data, taking videos of the animated timeline, and all these kinds of things that you can do when you have it on screen. But that the app only restricts who can distribute the file. But that's a pretty good level of restricting, I think. So just to reiterate where that control is, I'm going to log out as the user that the diagram is shared with. I'm going to log back in as the owner of the diagram. Notice that the server view has now refreshed to show the original 3 diagrams here. And now that I'm the owner, I'm logged in as patrick@vadanamedia.com. I can, of course, see my own file. And I'm going to click on that, go to the settings, and I get the settings shown when I'm the owner. And this is the place where you show, or where you set whether a person can read or write or make changes to the diagram. You can set, as the professional user, you can set as many people as you want here. So if you've got 2 or 3 people where you all want to be able to edit this one copy of the diagram on the server, then you can add them here. I don't have any other users here, but I would just add it'll end up as more rows here, and then you can set the access for each user however you want. So that is the idea, the basic concepts behind using the file server to share diagrams between people. There are 2 exceptions for this. The first one is when you are a coach and you have a client that has purchased a client license. So what you will do, what the client license gives you, is the ability for a client to go and pay a one-time fee with no expiration of $19.99, and it allows them to share their free diagram with one person. So what that means is that they will get this view here, the same view that allows them to add any professional user actually to have read-only or read-write access to their one free diagram that's stored on the user or on the server, but they won't be able to add more rows. So they don't have to add you, it doesn't have to be a coach, but they can set one user with that client license that's added onto the free license, that they can that will be able to access their diagram. So that allows a client to share their diagram with a coach, for example. Now, a coach can export a diagram file that they've started for the client and email it to the client. And then the client can just drag that file right onto the diagram, and it will overwrite everything in their free diagram stored on the server. That's because the free license only lets you edit one diagram, and it's stored on the server, and that's how that is controlled. It allows you to edit one diagram on the server, which means you can import as many diagram files as you want from as many professional users, and it will just overwrite what's there. But if you two decide to work on the same diagram, or they want to just allow you to view what they've done on their diagram without making changes, they can go in with that client license and add your email here so that you can do that. So then you just have to know that if you then if they import any diagram file on top of their free diagram, they're going to lose those changes, and that it gives you a warning before you do that. So you once you drop a file. So what you can do is instruct your clients to go here to the account manager view, click purchase at the bottom, and there's the two professional licenses, but there's also a client license. And all they need to do is click purchase and then enter their card number, and then they will have the ability to go and add you with read-only or read-write access. So it's up to you how you to manage that. But that is how the client works from your perspective as a coach. You have to just say, go download this app, and buy this client license, and then you can email them the file that you've started, or they can get going started and then share what they've done with you, etc. So there is a second exception, or a caveat rather. This is a caveat for using the file server. The file server makes places no control over you overwriting the changes made by someone else on a shared diagram on the server, or by the other direction where they are making changes that overwrite your changes on the server. There is no feature that will automatically update, like in Google Docs, your diagram when somebody else makes changes. So you actually have to coordinate changes between you and the other person, but you also have a feature to update your diagram with the latest changes from the server. And on Mac OS, that's Control-Shift-R as the keyboard shortcut, and it will automatically check if there are any changes from the server, and then it will just tell you there are changes from the server and we're going to update the diagram. You click OK, and then you'll see those changes automatically in the open file. And that's under File Update Server if you want to find it in the menu. On Windows, it's going to be, I believe, Control-Shift-R to update the server. So that's something you've got to do. Whenever you open a server file, it will automatically be updated to the most recent changes. But then when you make changes, then it is probably a good idea to be communicating with the other person. Hey, I'm making some changes, so either open the app to have the changes automatically updated on your computer, or it's just good practice to always be using that keyboard shortcut or going to File, Refresh Server to make sure that you're always in sync with the version that's out there. So anyway, that is an overview of the file server from a professional user perspective. There is going to be another video for using it from the client perspective, which is much simpler, and you may direct your users there. So I appreciate all feedback that comes in. Any support requests can be covered in the manual, or and then how to submit support requests, including feedback and feature enhancement ideas, are on the support page under the Family Diagram app menu on alaskafamilysystems.com. Thanks a lot, and good luck.